It just blew my mind, and that's when I got started into pornography. It was so easy to fall into that. I was hooked on porn for a good 2 years. I just knew it wasn't right. There was just some gut feeling that, I felt horrible every single time, but I'd still go back to it day in, day out.
The first high school I went to, I got kicked out of for possession of marijuana. They told me unless I tell them who the drug dealer was who sold it to me, I had to leave the school. So I wasn't gonna narc on the kid, so I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna leave the school. I really wasn't thinking about anything but myself. And I put my mom and dad through hell once I started experimenting with, weed and just drinking. My little brother would go to school and write about how I would beat him up, and my mom would cry herself to sleep because she knew when I would go out what I was doing.
My parents have had to put up with me always feeling depressed for no reason, about nothing. My father's always telling me, you have so much going for you. You're this, you're intelligent, you're this and that. Why don't you have confidence in yourself? There have been times when a wave of depression will come over me, that'll get so bad that I just will sit in my room and not do anything and just cry. Sometimes I cry myself to sleep, just feeling so despaired of life. Just telling myself things like, you're no good, you're not pretty enough, things like that. When I'm at my lowest point, when I'm feeling so depressed, in complete despair, it hurts. It hurts really bad. It feels like my heart is tearing up inside and I'm crying inside and I feel so empty, so alone. Yeah, it hurts.
Looking at pornography and being involved in all that gave me a twisted view on women, girls. I looked at them as like objects and not something that you're supposed to cherish. It's like they weren't real people. While I was looking at porn, I just remember being miserable and just wanting something more. And that's one of the reasons I did it. I was trying to fill that gap.
My second school, I got involved with a wrong crowd. Just my friend who had gotten me into weed was selling ecstasy, and I was supposed to sell ecstasy from him. And that whole weekend, that battle was whether I was gonna drop out or whether I was gonna stay or not. So at Monday, I had made up this whole lie of how I was gonna drop out, how I was gonna tell the people I was gonna not be in it and all that stuff. So it was always that fear of, this kid's, dropped out, this kid's gonna narc on us. So, they might jump me or shoot me, whatever the case may be, When you're dealing with people like that, you don't even know what's gonna go down. It was a Monday and we didn't have school that day. So I was off on my birthday. My uncle calls me and he's like, I have, this girl here, and it's your birthday, so why don't you come over and, do your thing. So I went to his house and there she is. And, I knew this girl for an entire 10 minutes and I ended up having sex with her. I call my friends up and, I'm kind of boasting about it. You kind of the man now, great birthday present, huh? Well, that excitement lasted for an entire 5 minutes, where this fear of just started gripping my heart, where, STD, AIDS, I don't even know this girl. Obviously it's not her first time if after 10 minutes, you give it up like that.
Even up to this day, I have a very low self-esteem. I know when I was in the 9th and the 10th grade, it got to such a bad point that after every period in school, I would end up running to the bathroom and just looking in the mirror, have to fix up my makeup, fix my hair, just make sure everything was perfect. When things would get really bad, I would seriously consider suicide, but it was like somehow I could never bring myself to do it. I mean, especially since I never knew what came after it all ended. I mean, what would happen? That was one of the worst periods of my life. There's absolutely nothing worse in the world than going through a depression, because you feel like there's nothing to live for. You go through life and it's only emotions. It's like, why am I waking up this morning? Why am I brushing my teeth? What's the reason that I'm here?
This is your life. Are you who you wanna be? This is your life. Is everything you dreamed it would be when the world was younger and you had everything to lose?
What do I believe in? Not much.
I believe in myself. I'm the only one I can believe in. I'm the only one who's going to make a difference for me.
At this point in my life, I'm still sort of formulating what my beliefs are. I do believe in a power greater than myself. I'm not at a point yet where I choose to call that power God, but I hope to some point come to a place where I do call that greater power God. But
What do I believe in? Well, basically, I believe in life. I believe in God. What I do believe in is hope. You know what I'm saying? Without hope, you ain't got nothing. You know what I'm saying?
So, I mean, all this is just playing in my mind. You know, I don't even know this girl, so what am I gonna do? You know, I'm only 16, this and this and this and this. So now I'm just, you know, I'm starting to sweat on the train. I'm on the 2 train coming back. And I mean, I just did nothing but look up and I said, God, if you are real, I'm sorry. That's all I said. God, if you're real, I'm sorry. And that's the first time I knew God was real, because the Bible speaks of a peace which surpasses all understanding, and that's what came over me. It didn't matter what I had just done. I had no fear anymore. All I knew was that I was right with God and that I was forgiven. And from there, my life changed. Whenever I open up the Bible, you know, no longer is it a bunch of stories about this guy named Jesus, but it's the book of life. It's the Word of God. And I'm reading it, and it's a passion.
My friend Anthony, he's mad cool. He is, he's mad cool. That day, we was just walking down. He was like, Laurent, I'm going to church. And I had this real bad problem with this girl, real bad. And I was down. And he was like, Laurent, you want to come to church? I was like, no, I didn't want to come to church. I didn't want to sit there with old people, nodding their head like this, waving their hands like this. I didn't want to deal with that. People all dressed up. I wasn't down with like that. And he was like, no, it's not like that. So we went to the church, and it was a youth rally that day, and I had fun that day. It was, my peers was there, the same ages as me. They was dressed up like street clothes. I got along with a lot of people. I met like 5 people that night, and we had fun. It took a long time. It took me like a good month, but I started changing my life and everything. I don't hang out with the same people no more. I go to all my classes now. I'm being myself now. I don't have to act all hype. I could be the quietest person I could be and still get friends. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to walk in the street with my head down no more. I can walk up high and smile. And people be asking me in school, why are you smiling? Because I have Jesus.
I have this friend named Brian, and he knew all about the way that I viewed myself. And he told me, God created you in his image. If you call yourself ugly, you're calling God ugly. It was just so odd, because I finally realized what I'd been doing my whole life, just constantly, you know, viewing myself. I decided I couldn't keep on going on the way I was. I just needed something to make me whole. I needed that one last piece. That last piece was Christ. Christ just started to change me. He started to make me, he started to show me who I was. I started to open up to people. I started to share my life. I started to have, you know, friends. I just started to blossom.
I was walking up into my driveway, and we have a little rose bush, and it was a white rose on there, and it had It was pure, had no mark on it, no blemish or anything like that. And